Good morning. Happy November 25th, 2015. Thank you for joining us. This is Riot Radio, and you are tuned into the Hashtag Hour. We're your hosts. I'm Ian Zachary Sukram. Alongside me, Darren Richie Rich Richardson. Coming up on today's show, as always, we've got the freshest headline news at the top of the hour, some happy, feel-good music to battle the end of the semester student stress blues, and of course, we'll be taking a look at all the top trends and hashtags over the past week on Twitter. But before we get started, I just want to comment on the weather. There is currently a mysterious and eerie fog encompassing Durham region. Darren, is this an evil fog? Is this any way associated with the end of the school semester? I'm a little worried.
You don't know, it's evil, that's for sure.
We're
probably going to die.
There is definitely an evil presence, and death is coming soon. Okay, good to know.
Like that scene from The Mist.
Okay, good to know. I can plan out my weekend accordingly. Okay, so I think we're going to start things off with our regular, freshest, super headlines of the week.
You can get fresh with us. Get fresh with us.
So normally we like to start things off on the Hashtag Hour with happy news, uplifting news, but in the real world, there aren't any filters. Does any good news come out of Syria? I'm waiting. I'm waiting for good news. But recently, I think Turkey may have lost their minds. Turkey fired and shot down a Russian aircraft that was traveling near the Syrian-Russian border. This is the first NATO attack on Russia in over 50 years. Obama claims, Turkey has the right to defend its airspace. But now Russia is on high alert, and they've got their ships stationed, and their orders are to attack anything that causes a potential threat. It seems like Russia and Turkey are on the same side. So, Darren, what is Turkey thinking by making these actions?
I think they were just defending their airspace. I think that's what it comes down to.
Yeah, but making that type of bold move with one of your allies certainly can't be positive moving forward. Is Turkey just like trigger happy? Are they?
They might be a little trigger happy.
Because, we look back in history, the Ottoman Empire, the Turkish Empire, very great, asserted themselves. It just doesn't make sense at all. I'm just trying to get into the minds of the people who made the decision of why attack Russia in this state of mind.
I don't know. They warned the plane to, divert its course away from Turkish airspace, but it didn't listen, so they had to, resort to the protocol of shooting it down.
I could understand if that was Russian was in the middle of Turkish airspace or in the central zone of their country, but everyone knows Russia's operating military operations in Syria. They were just on the Syria-Turkish border, so kind of seems like an overreaction. I'm just really worried because we study history. They say to know your history, history will always repeat itself. We look at World War I, we look at World War II. It seems like we're repeating ourselves, but they have all these kind of sketchy alliances that no one's really 100% sure of. It seems just like we're going down the same road. It seems very frightening.
Well, yeah, it is pretty frightening, to think that, the entire Middle East right now is sort of like a melting pot of things that could potentially trigger a third world war, And then this Turkey-Russia thing, that's really not making the situation any better.
This is terrible. It's terrible. I'm just. It doesn't seem like anyone is really doing anything to go in the opposite direction. We're just kind of speeding towards this war. We just had a new prime minister. He's kind of pulling out of, pulling our jets out of Middle Eastern airspace. But I don't know. It's just for me. It's just really, really disappointing news.
It is, yeah.
I'm not too sure where Canada goes or where the rest of the world goes from that point. So I just talked about Justin Trudeau. He's begun the process of legalizing marijuana. We've just seen the collapse, not 100% collapse of the oil industry, but we've seen the devastation of our Canadian environment. We've seen our dollar go down. And then we look at examples of the United States, the success of Colorado and Alaska. With this legalization process, what can we expect in Canada? What changes do you see this marijuana industry bringing to Canada?
Well, I mean, it depends on like what kind of time frame you're talking about.
Well, I heard like the process is probably going to take somewhere between 18 months and 2 years for the process. But we've seen like in Colorado, all their expectations for like tax revenue, it's surpassed all their expectations. Stephen Harper, conservative government, we kind of invested everything into the oil industry. We saw the results of that.
Mm-hmm.
Can this marijuana industry make up for our lack of economy the oil industry has produced so far?
Yeah, I definitely think it can, because if you're selling marijuana and taxing it and you're making money off of it, then you're not, paying police officers for their time on arresting people for marijuana. So you're saving twofold. You're earning and you're not spending. So I think that's kind of, the biggest benefit, and that'll probably really help, make up for the oil sands industry.
I hope so. I hope the hemp industry can actually make a big difference in repairing the environment. One of the biggest things that people don't really look at for environmental disasters are paper towels. We're destroying forests to create paper towels. This paper towel industry, who's benefiting from it, select individuals in a corporate industry. But, the legalization and production of hemp can easily make paper towels, can easily make paper, can easily make newspapers, can easily make clothes, it's just going to redefine our economy, really. What businesses do you see will almost be put out of business because of marijuana and hemp products?
Yeah, I think maybe the paper industry,
Mm-hmm.
maybe even some forms of clothing too, because you can make clothes out of hemp. So it's kind of nice.
Yeah, no, it just seems strange. Our European forefathers used hemp to mostly in the the building and the production of their ships and ropes and sails. Our American forefathers wrote the Declaration of Independence on hemp paper. We look back and it seems like where did these illegal laws, when did it become such an evil thing? The hemp industry, the marijuana
I really
industry.
don't know, but maybe it's because they didn't want people to have fun, so they're like, no marijuana. And then when they realized that hemp, you could get more for your buck, I feel like they didn't want that either. It's kind of why oil companies don't want green energy and renewable energy, because they want to make the money off of the non-renewable resources, the stuff that's harder to make.
I was watching this recent, I guess it came out a couple of years ago. It was this, I forget the name, but it was starring Woody Harrelson. And he was talking about the war, the Texas-Mexican War. It was just kind of like a law that was implemented so they could arrest Mexicans, or they could arrest illegals. And then I've heard an economic an economic argument that the people that controlled the cotton industries and the paper industries made this illegal so that their businesses could keep flourishing. If we know this and if we recognize this, how come the process of change is taking so long?
Because those companies have so much money, so they can just kind of throw it at the government and then nothing really gets done. At least maybe that's what I feel like it is, because you need those companies to stimulate your economy, so the government's not really going to want to just cut them loose on a whim that another industry will take its place.
So I'm kind of looking at our own police industry, and it seems as if crime is going down, but police funds are going through the roof. Every year, there's additional funds being added to like the police budget. Yet crime is going down. Then we look at Europe, we take a look at the Netherlands, and they have such a decrease in crime that they're being forced to like close down their prisons. With the legalization of marijuana, hemp, is this something that the Canadian, I don't know, prison services are able to handle? Are they ready for this change?
Yeah, I'd say so. I don't really think that we have such a rampant, marijuana imprisonment problem here. I think that's really more of an American thing where, in America, you're going to go to jail for having like 2 grams in your pocket or something. But, here, that's not generally a thing that happens. Like it's kind of like an unspoken word of law that if you have like under 20, they usually just take it and like they'll maybe hold you for the night, but they don't usually press like trafficking charges or possession charges on you.
Yeah, you normally like get a fine, but I find like so many people, so many arrests, so many types of like probation are based on marijuana laws, and also like traffic violations. It seems like I keep mentioning, like the crime rate is going down, so the crime rate's going down, so it's almost like police are like looking for ways to fine people. We look at traffic laws, we look at the new cell phone laws, we look at the marijuana laws. If these things go away, like the legal system is going to have to do like a complete overhaul, and to me that's going to be like the biggest change. Like how is this overhaul going to affect employees of the court, employees of police foundations?
Could not even tell you.
Okay. Well, on that note, I guess it's time to take an uplifting music break. Coming up, we've got the B-52s, Mesopotamia, Aretha Franklin, Save Me, all remixed by Santi Gold. We've got Diverse with Quakers, and of course, Mongo's Hi-Fi right here on riotradio.ca.
Turn your watch back about 100,000 years. 100,000 years. I'll meet you by the third pyramid. I'll meet you by the third pyramid. Oh, come on, that's what I want. We'll meet in Mesopotamia.
I am no student
Feel those vibrations.
of ancient culture.
I need excavation.
Before I talk, I should read a book. But there's one thing that I do know. There's a lot of ruins in Mesopotamia. 6,000 or 8,000 years ago, they laid down the law. 6,000 or 8,000 years ago, they laid down the law.
These sounds lead the way.
Ripe under pressure, light incandescent like the night, like the liquor store's presence. Fluorescent signs flickering, bickering patrons with the venom in they strike. Quick to take a bite, like Sims in the Garden of Eden. Goblins and demons, heathens and reasons for 15 of life. Fishing in big seas as big things entice. Sharks with the razor man of war, octopi, water deep blue, ice cool, air polar crisp. See a breath on exhale, like blessing an L, blow a kiss to the heavens in waiting. Residents watching, eagle-eye view, will a human race make it? Naked, stripped of their comforts, forsaken. I came via spaceship in ancient Egypt. Crypt kept my mummified body adhesively wrapped. They opened my tomb, greetings, I'm back. Greetings, I'm back. Yeah, 7 ways of Sunday, reverend the pulpit, medicine for sickly, elements of carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, formed from the shore shortly after the comets had evolved from amphibians, swimming with our fins to extension of our limbs, and gorillas are the chimps in the canopy swinging. Humanity's prelim, man or beast, depends who you asking what they seen here. Money, money, murder, ugly on the house, but it's internal. Word up, sheep to the herder, the meek just curler, fetal, below the surface, urges to uprise, nervous, purchase distraction from purpose, match it with purses, accessories perfect, versus your destiny skirted. I came via spaceship in ancient Egypt. Crypt kept my mummified body adhesively wrapped. They opened my tomb. Greetings, I'm back. Greetings, I'm back.
Scrubber dub time with Lincoln Sugar Minor for all the crew. Kick it, Lord of mercy. Hey, yeah, alright. Mango, you done gone through, yo. Hey, alright. Woyoy, woyoy, woyoy. Oh, guys. What shall we do now? Hey, give them in a scrubber dub style, yeah. For all the scrubber dub fans, hey. Whether you're doing lovers rocking or you come from the hip hop gang, I know you love a mango sound so ball forward. I know you love a mango sound so ball forward. I know you love a mango sound so ball forward. The people them love a mango sound them a ball forward. Hey, let me tell you about the sound I know. Manga I find and them start the show. See every night when it's dance all time, Mango, yes, you play the music, make me feel so fine. And I know, oh yes, I know. Say Mango, the people love you so. Come again, keep them in a scrubber dub style, yeah. For all the scrubber dub fans, hey. Whether you're playing rubber dubbing or you come from some hip hop gang, I'ma tell them, down in the year of 83, I know a little song called Mango Hi-Fi, you see. But right here now in the 2000s, Mango, yes, your sound a hit around the nation. Them can't stop you. No, some boy can't stop you. No, some boy can't test you. No, some boy can't stop you. You know me tell him a lion, what the crew though? Jump over, press it, beat the drop in a hit. Mango, jump over, press it, beat the drop in a hit. The people them a say the crew physically fit, cause them drink up the tonic. I wish tonic, not this scrubber dub tonic. Alright, I'ma tell them, special requests unto the urban in the dance. I grade special requests unto the urban in the dance. Hey, pass the cut chip on the article side. Some boy I hide, some boy I hide, some boy I hide. Lincoln Sugar Minor say special application to all the Mango Hi-Fi masses. Alright, you know how we do it. Mango, your sound, you done gone through it. Alright. Hey, Lincoln Sugar Miners from Mango's Hi-Fi. Playing in your town, playing all around, ruling.
And welcome back to Riot Radio. You are listening to the Hashtag Hour. I'm Ian Zachary Sukram, and this is Darren Richie Rich Richardson. You were just listening to Santi Gold's top-ranking mix of B-52's Mesopotamia and Save Me by Aretha Franklin. Also, we heard Mummy and Diverse and Quakers with Mummy and Mongo's High Five with Scrub-a-Dub. So now we're going to take a look at the top trends, hashtags in Twitter over the last week. So just recently, Laquan McDonald has been trending. For those who don't know, he is a teenager who was murdered by Chicago police. And this was all caught on video. So over the past years, we've just been hearing story after story of police brutality, corruption, crime. But now all these crimes are coming to light, being recorded. It seems like we have a serious issue on our hands. What in the heck can we do to solve these police brutality problems in the United States moving forward?
You need to get better police.
Definitely. The hiring procedures, it seems like if you're too smart, you're overqualified.
Yeah. I just feel like they're training, beyond, whatever racial issues you're going to bring up, I think it comes down to their training. And I feel like they're trained to shoot their problems away instead of actually deal with it. Because, even interactions with, mentally ill people,
Mm-hmm.
The ones who have ended up getting shot, it's like, that's not how you're supposed to deal with a situation.
Should all police officers be required to wear a video camera to, record all of their actions?
Can't really see a reason why they shouldn't.
I think the big problem is like affording it, but
well, okay, yeah, the expenses maybe, but I feel like at the end of the day, the footage is either you're doing your job or you're not. So the people who are scared of the body cams, the police who are,
mm-hmm.
it's obviously because they're not doing their job, the way they're supposed to. They're not working within their rules.
See, one of the big problems that I see is policing themselves. It doesn't matter what evidence is stacked up against them. It seems like it's like this brotherhood. I don't want to use the word cult, but it seems like they're all protecting themselves. But who in American or Canadian society can actually judge the police's actions? I don't think anyone is qualified enough to do it. But the thing with the body cams is the body cameras aren't going to lie.
Yeah, that's the reason why they should be there, and so that way there's no question about it.
Mm-hmm. So just training wise, I mean, what type of new qualifications should police have before they even enter like a police foundations?
I don't know. I feel like they need to have some kind of psychology experience. They need to know how to understand people and work with them instead of resulting to aiming a gun at them to get the other person to do what they want. Because I feel like that's probably the biggest issue with American cops.
A lot of people who sign up for police, they actually have like a lot of like military experience. Do you think there should be, I don't know, do you think military professionals should be just like allowed to join the police force, or do you think they should go for like a separate type of training?
I think they need a separate type of training. I think they need like a mental health screening as well to make sure that they're not just one of those, rah America, let's shoot away our problems type of people.
Yeah, it's really troubling. We look at Freddie Gray, we look at the riots that broke out in Baltimore. We look at Eric Gardner. He was like a 300-pound guy choked out by almost like 8 different police officers. Mm-hmm. We've got the Trayvon Martin case. I forget the young boy's name, but this was like in Ohio.
Tamir Rice.
The 12-year-old.
Yeah.
He was shot by police within 2 seconds on the scene. All these things have happened like in the last 12 months. So we could just imagine all the unknown cases that have been happening in like the previous years. Do the African American people have like a proper representation for themselves? Because every time I look on the news, it's Al Sharpton representing everyone. Is this like a hindrance to the cause?
Oh, that's a tough one to answer. Like, you got me all fogged up.
We're gonna have to get
Honey,
you-
because it's foggy out.
As soon as I woke up and I saw this fog, I knew nothing good was going to come out of it. It's eerie, it's cold, it's dangerous. A December fog is frightening. Another top trend, our friends to the south are celebrating Thanksgiving, but I'm seeing something that I don't really understand. It's called Thanksgiving with Black families.
Oh, I don't understand that either. I think that's just one of those hashtags that started because someone, they started as a joke, and then
Mhm.
other people were like, "Oh, that's kind of funny. Let's tag along."
Right, but all these hashtags that I'm reading, they aren't really that funny, and it's when I read these things, I don't really associate it with like black families. Like, I'm mixed race. I have I have a Canadian side, I have a West Indian side, and I'm not really seeing like much of a difference. So okay, so some of the hashtags was when you're all of your cousins pick on your one cousin.
Oh, that's just a family thing.
Doesn't seem like a black thing only.
Like, I'm white. I do that with my family.
Yes,
we all gang up on a cousin or something. pick on
exactly.
them.
When one of your aunts asks your gay cousin where's their significant other,
That's just
again,
That's just like if you're going somewhere, with a family, your significant other's probably going to be there with you. So if they're not, it's like, why aren't they?
Mhm.
Where are they?
at first I was kind of like offended by it. Just Thanksgiving with black families. It seemed like they were like talking down on it. So that's kind of what like piqued my curiosity.
See, I didn't really look at any of the tweets, but when I saw the hashtag, I thought like, oh, this is one of those, like ghetto tweet type of things.
Yeah.
Where it's going to be like, instead of like a turkey, it'll be like one slice of turkey that you
Mhm.
get from like a deli or something.
Yeah, so I just by reading this hashtag, I kind of had like this I was like prematurely offended, thinking that it was just going to be like denouncing, poor people or people that live in lower income areas.
Mm-hmm.
But when I read it, it was just family stuff. So it doesn't seem like any of the hashtags.
Maybe that's the point they're making, is that, black families are still families.
Honestly, I hope that's something that the American public can take from that.
Yeah, I hope that's the point that they're trying to make.
But I wasn't too entertained by it. But something that I was entertained with this past Sunday, one of AMC's top shows, The Walking Dead, premiered, or I shouldn't say premiered, but they showed their second last episode of the season. And everyone in the land of The Walking Dead, our feelings were saved and reassured because everyone's beloved character, Glenn, is alive and well. But I don't really want to get into anything storyline-wise. What I'm more interested is, Darren, why do you have such a hatred and dislike for The Walking Dead? What did they do to you?
Well, I feel like they're beating a dead horse at this point. There's not really bringing anything new to the table anymore. So that's why I stopped watching in I think season 3, like halfway through season 3, beginning of season 4. Maybe I saw a little bit, but
Mm-hmm.
it didn't really pique my interest like it did the first time I saw it. Like that first season, I was like, oh, this is really cool. Like, let's see where they go with this. And I wanted more and more and more. But then as they gave me more and more, I started realizing like, oh no, this is, it's stagnated. I don't really like it anymore.
Really? Oh,
Yeah.
wow. Like, apart from the storyline, I find like the photography and the costumes, the music that they use, I find
it's
it all
really
like
well done.
really, really intriguing.
Like everything's really well done and it's shot nicely. It's just, it's the zombies, it's like that, it's like that trope, I guess, it's been so overused in the past 10, 15 years.
Mm. So I'm just wondering, was there any character that you were like particularly drawn to, and the opposite end? Was there a character that just kind of like drove you crazy and that just drove you with rage?
Well, obviously I love Daryl. He's the man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I pretty much hated Dale, that old guy
Oh
with
yeah.
the RV.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he was the worst.
Did you make it to like the Governor's War or the second Governor's War?
Not the second Governor's War, but I made it through the first one.
Okay. Well, the thing is like I find, AMC, they've really like revolutionized what qualifies as entertainment on television. They just have like a number of groundbreaking, amazing shows. Breaking
Yeah.
Bad.
Obviously, Breaking Bad is one of them.
Yes, obviously Breaking Bad. So
Everybody
These-
loves that show.
everyone does love the show, except for people who actually never watched the show, and then they're like forced to watch the whole thing all at once.
I've seen so
It's
far the
too much
first
for them.
season of Breaking Bad. I think maybe 3 episodes into season 2, but I haven't watched it in a while.
Oh, what is taking you so long, my friend?
I don't know, man. I just got busy with stuff, so then I kind of forgot that it existed.
That was one of the first shows I like started binge watching, and I binged through like the first 3 seasons.
Mm-hmm.
And that was enough. That was enough violence, and I was able to witness enough horrible things without cracking. But then I was forced to wait for this season to come out and then watch it week by week, which is very painful. But taking it in small doses, I was like able to, take in everything. But I couldn't imagine watching each horrific episode one after another. It doesn't seem like the show to binge watch. So that was my next question for you. What is a great show, maybe 2 or 3 shows that are the best for binge watching?
Oh, well, I know me personally, I binge watch Family Guy, Futurama, and How I Met Your Mother. Those are the 3 that I tend to binge watch.
Anything dramatic? Is there any dramatic binge watching?
No, not really. When I binge watch something, I tend to just like turn it on and then do other stuff while it's on.
Oh, okay.
Like I don't ever think that I've watched a full episode of a TV show without, doing something else in the meantime.
Yeah, my last binge watch was Netflix special Narcos, the story of Pablo Escobar. I thought that was really, I think that's one of a great show to binge watch, because you could just like take in one after the other, and like the interest builds. It's a solid hour, no commercials. I'm also a fan of Orange is the New Black. I don't know why I find the show like really addicting.
Yeah, no, that show is really good. It's so well written, I feel.
It's so well written, but I mean, Piper, when is she coming out of jail? I mean,
I
it
don't
seemed
know.
like she had like a little brief 1-year sentence, and now she's
Yeah, they're really
she's in there for the long haul.
Yeah, they're dragging it out as best they can.
How do you see this show like ending? Like once Piper Chapman is released from prison, is the show officially over? Do we follow her life? And how long do we follow it for?
I hope they end it when she gets out. If they kept it going as like a reality show or something, that'd be so bad. Like a Friends, but with all of her criminal friends from the prison.
Yeah,
Cool.
I'd like to see it. I'd like to see. We will look at the movie Shawshank Redemption, and these prisoners get released, and they don't really have the most fun living in real life. They prefer to like be in the prison. So I would be kind of interested to see how like these main characters would exist or coexist after their prison sentence is over. So recently, all kinds of music records are being broken, and it's all about Adele. All this focus is on Adele, and I've never really gotten into Adele's music, because from the music that I've heard from her, I just find it to be like really, really depressing.
Yeah, it is.
So why is her music, breaking all these records? Why are people wanting to like relive all these hard emotions on a regular basis, through her music?
Because it makes them feel like they're not suffering through the same thing alone, I guess. It's like someone's consoling you and comforting you.
I feel it's like, you have like a wound and it's like covered up, and you listen to Adele's music and you just kind of like keep ripping open this bandage over and over and over again.
No, I'd say it'd be more like putting, rubbing alcohol on it.
Oh,
Yeah, so
really?
it's like it stings, but then like it's what cleanses you at the same time.
Okay, if you went through a breakup, going through a horrible breakup, I think is a part of everyone's kind of like development in like maturity. But what type of music do you listen to when you go through like a bad breakup or like a rough period?
Sad music,
Sad music all like the entire time?
pretty much.
Oh man,
Or
I
like
must be the
or,
opposite.
angsty music too.
See, I just feel that kind of music just kind of like adds to like a negative emotion or like adds to a negative feeling. I have to listen to like happy music. I have to listen to like upbeat, high tempo energy music, maybe like a little gangster rap and then mix in like some classical music. I can't listen to like really I can't stay in that kind of like state of mind. So that's why like I'm so curious about Adele's success. I mean, I know she has like a lot of promotions. She's on Jimmy Fallon, she's on Ellen, she's on every show. But I'm trying to understand like the psyche of you're feeling depressed, you're feeling angry. Why surround yourself with, more depressing and sad music? I don't know. I just thought it was I just think it's like a little interesting.
Yeah, it's a little weird, little interesting. A lot of what people do is a little weird, little interesting.
Okay, so coming up this weekend, it's the 103rd Grey Cup. Between the Edmonton Eskimos and the Ottawa Red Blacks, I think they're called now.
Yeah.
So one of the big things with like football, the NFL always like steals the headlines. One of the biggest issues in the NFL is the name of the Washington Redskins. And I think everyone agrees that there should be like a name change involving the Washington team. But I wanted to go to like the CFL now that the Edmonton Eskimos have like made it to the finals. Do you think the word Eskimo is offensive? Do you think it should be like changed in any sort of way?
Well, like I would assume it would be offensive to Eskimos, the Inuit people.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I would assume that they'd probably find it a little offensive. But even if they didn't, okay, even let's say no one found this name offensive, it's still a stupid name to name a team after like a race or group of people.
Yeah, like
like how stupid would it be to have a team like the Toronto Caucasians?
the Toronto Sri Lankans.
Yeah, like that's stupid.
Yeah, I agree. So it's not really so much offensive. It's just kind of like a silly name.
Yeah, it's just kind of like, for me anyway, it's like a really dumb, unneeded name. You could have picked anything else.
True. I mean, right. They're playing the Ottawa Red Blacks. Before they were the Red Blacks, they were the Renegades.
Renegades is an okay name.
And then they closed shop again. And then before that, they were the Rough Riders. It was like the biggest ongoing joke that the CFL, a team with 8 teams, had 2 teams named after each other. The 2 Rough Riders going at it. Very silly. So
It is.
One of the things is, CFL is always fighting for their life. They're always kind of like fighting for their legitimacy. They don't really make money every single year. Like I mentioned before, the Ottawa CFL in Ottawa, they've had to close down on 2 other occasions. CFL weekend, 103rd Grey Cup. It's like the oldest trophy in like North American sports, but it's also American Thanksgiving, and the NFL has tons of games ready. Should the CFL continue with like this tradition and have like their CFL game, Grey Cup game on a Sunday? Or do you think they should like switch it to a Saturday or maybe even switch it to like a weekday? Do you think they should keep the tradition of having their Sunday games or keep going with it?
I really don't actually think it matters for the CFL. Because
Why is
either
that?
way, they're going to get, shadowed by the NFL. We live in Canada, we don't typically care about football here.
Yeah, I mean,
Like, really any field sport we don't care about, Like, other than maybe, like, lacrosse.
yeah, well, I feel like lacrosse was like our national sport for like such a long time, but I feel
I'm
like
pretty
that
sure it
is
still technically is our national sport.
I think it's like like shares with like hockey now. I don't know when it was exactly, but like hockey became like
I
a
think-
sport.
yeah,
But ever
hockey
since they
became,
started sharing
you know,
it seems
hockey
like
was-
lacrosse was is like becoming extinct.
Well, hockey was, the fan consensus, I guess, like the citizens were like,
Yeah.
yeah, this is our national sport. but the government decided that lacrosse was, however many years ago.
Yeah, like I want to say like 100 years ago.
It's probably a longer time than that.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know when lacrosse was invented, so.
Yeah, I mean lacrosse must be like older than actual, like the country of Canada itself.
Oh yeah, for sure. I'm pretty sure it's like older than hockey is too, because I think hockey derived from lacrosse.
What is the like national sport of America then? Because I mean they have so many.
It's baseball.
It is baseball.
I believe so.
Because like of like hockey, or I shouldn't say hockey, but like basketball, NFL football, baseball, they're all like huge American pastimes. Should Canada adopt more like national sports to their names to like help us boost our
It's weird that we don't, because basketball was partially invented by a Canadian,
the first NBA game was played in Maple Leaf Gardens.
It was played in Toronto. That's a fun fact. The MLB was codified by a Canadian, so it's like all these things probably wouldn't exist in the way they do had it not been for Canada, but yet we seem to not care about anything unless it's hockey, which is weird, but I don't care because I don't care about anything unless it's hockey, so.
Yeah, I kind of hate that. I blame broadcasting. I blame broadcasting because
yeah,
it seems like, in the past couple of years, there was only like TSN1 and TSN2 and Sportsnet, and it was just hockey all the time, hockey. So everyone was just kind of growing up with hockey statistics and nonstop hockey. So it's like a generation is growing up only knowing hockey. But now, TSN has 5 channels now. Sportsnet has 4 or 5 channels now. And it seems like all these other sports are getting an equal airtime. And it seems like there is more participation in these other sports. Is this the end of hockey?
no. I think the closest we got to that would be when the Blue Jays made the playoffs, but, they didn't make it far.
They made it pretty far.
Well, I mean, I guess, but there's only like 3 rounds in their playoffs, right? So they didn't really technically even make it halfway.
So what are your thoughts on this new World Cup of hockey? To me, it doesn't make sense and I hate it. Can you talk me into liking it?
Well, you don't even really like hockey that much, do you?
See, the thing is I loved hockey. I used to play hockey growing up, but around 2004 when the Toronto Maple Leafs were rudely ejected out of the playoffs, that was when the rebuild was supposed to happen. But instead of like there being a rebuild, the Leafs just kind of like gave away all their young prospects to sign all these like aging veterans to make one last push into the playoffs. And it seems like they've actually never recovered from that moment. So when that happened for me, I was like, okay, the Toronto Maple Leafs are going to be quite horrible for a very long time. I need to find a new hobby. So I tried to find a new hobby. I tried to look east and I tried to look west, but everywhere I looked, there was just nonstop hockey being shoved in my face. And I just couldn't escape hockey. And I always use the analogy of like the 5th slice of chocolate cake or like your mom's favorite food.
Yeah.
Your mom makes you something and you're like, thanks, Mom, this is my favorite meal. And then she makes it 2 times a week. And then she makes it 3 times a week. And then she makes it all the time. And you're just like, I can't eat this ever again. I cannot stand this. Please stop making this for me. And that's kind of how I feel about hockey. It's just, there's no real escape from it.
No, there really isn't. Because especially even in the American market, like if you were to escape to America to think you're getting away from it, like you're really not.
Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of their hockey teams have big fan bases, unless maybe you want to go live in Orlando or Miami, wherever the Florida Panthers play.
Yeah.
Because their home attendance is like under 10,000. Like
Yeah.
Oshawa Generals here in Durham pull a bigger crowd than that, which is sad because they're an NHL franchise.
What's really sad for me is that there isn't a second team in Toronto. That's what really...
I don't think there will be for a long time.
What is the official ruling behind that? Because it seems like it's some type of territorial law, like no other team can operate within like a certain radius of the Toronto Maple Leafs, but it seems like too many people are suffering.
I don't really even think it's that. I just think that if there's going to be another Eastern Conference team, right?
Mhm.
Or if they're going to relocate a team, it's probably going to go to Quebec City. You know, they're the next in line for a franchise.
Yes, I agree. Quebec City definitely deserves a hockey team.
We need the Nordiques back.
We definitely do,
Like,
because
come on, it's time.
when you look at the size of Quebec and there's only, the Montreal Canadiens.
Well, I mean, it would be really good for Canadian television too to have that other team, because their rivalry with Montreal would be huge. Their rivalry with Toronto would be huge. You know,
And
it's
then
going to
you
pull
put
in.
Ottawa in the mix.
And you throw Ottawa in there for good measure. Like, that's going to be a lot more entertaining for people to watch. It gives
Mhm.
them more storylines to follow.
That's what I feel the NHL lacks. I feel they lack like a lot of storylines because they just have like the same type of playoff format.
I feel like it lacks storylines because it's not the rough,
Mhm.
nitty gritty of, the 70s, 80s, 90s, whatever. It's not high scoring. There's not a lot of checking. It's very tame.
Yeah.
It's a very technical game now, and that's exciting to watch. But like when you're watching a team that's not, up to par with the other teams, play a team that is, it's kind of like, it's just jarring. It's not as entertaining as it should be.
I agree. Anytime I kind of bring up, European soccer, a lot of my Canadian friends will give me like this weird look, like, ugh, soccer, ugh, please, not around here. But one thing I think
Not up in
soccer
here.
does, one thing that soccer does is they have multiple trophies during the season where teams can, they're still in the running to like win silverware. So instead of having East conferences and West conferences, that every team is just in one category. You win, you get points. Whoever has the most points at the end of the season, they win the title. But then they'll also have like a tournament just based on the 20 teams, like a knockout tournament. So even if I'm a last place team, I can go on like this crazy win streak and kind of like make it to the finals of like a cup. So in England, they call it like the FA Cup. But then they also have another tournament where the teams of the first division, second and third division are all in one tournament. So with like the NHL in mind, I think they need to put like some type of like a new trophy to chase and kind of start up like a one and done kind of like knockout tournament.
That's what the World Cup of hockey is.
Yeah, but that's
Not for the
like-
individual teams, but for the
I
players.
mean, for the players, but just more so for the NHL itself. Like, I think there should be like all the Canadian teams should like play each other in like this knockout round.
Okay, yeah, maybe if you're, suggesting like a Canada Cup.
That's
that
what
would
I'm
make
suggesting.
sense.
I'm suggesting like a Canada Cup and like an American Cup.
Because I feel like, they play 82 games. Okay, that stretches over from October to March, like
Yeah, I was gonna
mid-March.
say April. Yeah.
Well, yeah, but then playoffs, that's another, 2 months or so, 3 even for some teams. So it's like you have, your 2-3 month summer break in between. And with the World Cup of hockey, they're shortening your summer break even more. So it's like with this Canada America Cup type of thing, like how much time are the players going to have off between seasons to, rest and be with their family?
This wouldn't be like a separate thing. It would kind of like be ingrained into like the actual NHL season. So maybe like once a month or twice a month, they would have like this Canada Cup or American Cup game.
I feel like they should have a separate playoffs for the teams who didn't make the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
And then they can crown them the best of the losers,
No, well, that's what I mean. Like, okay, so like the Vancouver Canucks, let's say they're probably not going to make the playoffs this year.
No, they are.
Okay. What's
They're
a Canadian
doing good.
team? What's a Canadian team that will definitely not? The Edmonton Oilers.
Yeah, Edmonton.
Okay, the Edmonton Oilers will definitely not make the playoffs this year, right? But in this like kind of Canadian Cup format, they kind of have a chance. They have like a new life in like almost like a different type of a season.
Mm-hmm.
So an American Cup, a Canadian Cup, and then the two winners will face each other in like a big kind of like a North American like cup off, right? So then the winner of that, let's say the Toronto Maple Leafs win for the Canadian side and the Dallas Stars win for the American side. Those two play each other. And then like the winner of that will play the Stanley Cup champions to start off a season. So it's kind of like it's a direct stealing from like soccer where like the champions will play each other and then they'll start off the brand new season. with a battle, but
I feel like something similar to that was the beginning of the NHL. They had the different leagues, and then all the champions of those leagues would play each other. But I don't really think that it's like a feasible idea right now, just because there's so many teams. The season takes so long,
yeah,
so it's
I
like
hear you.
fitting that in is going to be tough, especially with Olympic breaks, the World Cup of hockey. All these things that take up even more time. It's like, where are you going to put this this Canada Cup thing? There's just, because they don't want to give up their 82 game season. You know what I mean? They want that ad revenue.
Yeah, definitely. And there's rumors of like ads being put on their jersey, but for me, I just feel like a lost hockey fan. I don't feel like I have any team to cheer for. I want to cheer for the Leafs. I was born in Toronto. They're the team I should be.
I think next year,
cheering for.
Next year is when you cheer for them.
But they're just like, there's just so much politics involved with like the running of MLSE that they disgust me. Like, I could never afford to go to a Toronto Maple Leafs game, and if I do somehow get tickets, what is there for me to cheer for?
See, that's why you should just move to Florida and cheer for the Panthers, because they were giving away 2 tickets to 3 games for like $90 or something. $90, man. 3 games. NHL.
Well, if Las Vegas got a team, I think I would probably attend more NHL games. Go to Vegas, take in my team. I think that'd be like a fun experience.
The Vegas thing is a little perplexing to me. I don't think they're going to get a team unless the Seattle, they also get a team, because that way it evens out the conferences. It's weird that Las Vegas really wants a team, and they can support it. Like, they've shown they have the fan base that they want hockey there.
Well, it's not really like the locals of Nevada that would be like supporting this team. It's all the tourists that come in from all parts of North America. And again, when it's like comes to international hockey, cheering for Canada doesn't do anything for me anymore.
Why not?
Because we pretty much invented hockey, right? So I can only watch Canada beat Belarus 13-1 so many times. I can only watch them beat Sweden 5-1 so many times. Every tournament is, are we going to play the Russians or are we going to play the Czechs? I can only live that experience so many times, and it's just kind of making me feel, like I said, I describe myself as like a lost hockey fan. I don't have any team to cheer for.
Yeah, cheer for the Panthers. I'm telling you.
Won't someone help me? Okay, so I'm just going to say hello to my granny. Thank you so much for watching. Thanks you everyone for joining us today for the Hashtag Hour. For our CanCon moment of the show, here is Chromeo with Don't Turn the Lights on riotradio.ca.
There must be another way. When she's gone to a better place, and loneliness will hurt you if you can't get through the night. Then the moment starts to fade, and dawn is just an hour away. I feel she's watching over, and it gets me through the night. It makes me wonder what you'd say. It's taking me back to the month of May, when I watched you do it all night. I'm thinking back to what we shared. In many ways I'm already there.